want this to if it record. We discovered that as VPPRs in our respective clubs, we have more to offer than simply producing flyers, particularly meeting flyers. There are more avenues that you can explore within our roles, and that is the purpose of today's meeting. The District 114 PRM, Baron Ochola, will kick off with explaining more and giving us more ideas about what it is we have in store for you today. So over to you, Baron Ochola.
Thank you, Tracy. Fantastic job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Davis, and thank you, Julian. Thank you, Dr. Kevin. And today we are definitely going to have this session tuned into both the audience that is currently here right now, as well as the scalable audience that will be watching us live on YouTube. Well, not live, but the recorded version on YouTube. So just to set the clock, Tracy, you could support with showing the cards with the red coming at 15, green possibly 10, and then yellow at 13. That would be fantastic. Thank you. First things first, today's session is a big one, I would say. And the reason being, from get-go, from day one, we've highlighted time and time again that the public relations officer is not just a poster boy or a poster girl. Right? And I use boy and girl in a very light way, right? But our job is not necessarily only to produce a flyer, similarly to how the VPE's job is not necessarily only to organize a meeting. The core job of the VPE is to ensure the growth of the members, and the avenue becomes the meetings. Now, I hope you caught that, the avenue. So the flyers are only one avenue through which we do our publicity with the purpose of getting people to our meetings. But the job of the public relations officer is much bigger than that, and Dr. Kevin will speak into that in a bit. My specific role today is to share with us the brand proposition, because every day is a good day for us to remind ourselves what our brand is. I'm just looking for the share button right there. Every day is a fantastic day to remind ourselves what our brand is, what we represent, because it goes beyond the flyer. There are things that we represent that we often do not speak about. Now that we will have to calculate. So the brand manual right here is the Toastmasters guiding document. And in this Toastmasters guiding document, you'll see that we have core values and a brand promise, and these are things that are often overlooked, and we'll tap into a bit of compliance here. Just look at the time, which is 18, okay. So when you look at the Toastmasters brand manual, you have this brand, and you'll say this brand manual will be your inspiration. Toastmasters International is excited to present to you the guidelines in an easy-to-follow format for you to effectively bring your brand to life. And that's the goal, to bring your brand to life. The core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Unwavering values that we follow as Toastmasters, with a brand promise of empowering individuals through personal and professional development. Now, the question is, this brand promise is everything to us, because the brand promise, while Toastmasters is not for profit and non-government, in a profit organization would say the brand promise attaches itself to the purpose, which is the reason a company exists beyond profit. So Toastmasters exists to empower individuals through personal and professional development. In all our communication, it has to reflect. Our personality has to have the idea that the organization is interactive, audience at all touch points, and not just the idea. Through internal communications, external media, social posts, and more. Key highlights: we have what we call internal media, which is communication for only members. You might have communication that is for only executive committee. You might have communication that is for everybody else in Toastmasters from your club. You are communicating to the rest of the area, rest of the division. So this document is available for us to go through. I'll just skim through it. Voice and tone. Our voice is that of confidence and compassion. It is clear yet respectful, friendly yet professional. Tone is positive, upbeat and enthusiastic, and it is serious when necessary, most importantly, open to exchange. As you communicate, take note of that. Voice and checklist. So these are some of the things that you need to do with your branding. Now, notice I am not yet speaking about the colors, the fonts, and all this. It is important that the tone itself reflects before we even get to the colors. Is your communication respectful? The words that you use, the photos that you use. You might use a photo that looks like you were mocking the Toastmaster of the day, right? The professional aspect of it. Is your communication professional? Or does it look like we put together a collage and then said, let's roll that up? Now, universally understandable, clear, warm, friendly, internationally friendly, and succinct. We have to be very clear in all these ways in which we communicate. Next, have the logo of Toastmasters. Please note, the logo, while it has a white background here, is better to have without a white background in any of the documents because it just has to sit as it is, as you can see in my background right here. This side, right? Just sit as it is. That makes it look a bit cleaner. A clear space. If you look at this background I have, is space between the end of the background and the logo. So we need some space between there. We're allowed to use the grayscale logo and the white logo. These are the sizes you're allowed to use it in. And at the bottom of the brand manual, you can download logos. Next, we have the word mark. If you would like to use that, similar rules apply. We also have logo lockups, like since 1924. I like the one we used when we made 100 years, was a really beautiful one. Some of the things about our logos. You can add here some of your slogans, the district name, the club name, all that, but do not put it in perspective, disproportionately scale it, change proportion of logo elements. You want to put your name in the logo here. Let me just full screen this. So you might decide and say, I want to put name in the logo here, change some aspects. Don't just let the logo be as is. Right? That's very important. Change the logo to black. Please desist from that. Then the color palette is very important. If you notice the logos that we have, background that we have, we try to stick to the colors. Imagine World Cup, for example, and then the branding was black and white. World Cup represents lively, right? Or imagine KFC with blue branding. Very nice color, but does it speak to who KFC is? Or McDonald's, for that example. Now, I have no idea why my mind is giving examples that are geared towards food, but that's another story. So every brand has a reason why it has chosen a certain color. Blue, for example, if you notice, is often used with banks because they're trying to inspire trust. Maroon is just lively. It inspires trust as well. It makes you feel warm. Gray helps to cool, helps your eyes to relax as you look at something. And cool, a happy yellow rather, is an accent color to accentuate a few of the elements. That's why you'll find us using it with some of the words like fireside chat here, rather than as the background. So that's what an accent color means, vis-a-vis a primary color, as we note with these others. What you can do with this is you can copy the hex code or CMYK codes to your app that you design with, and you will be able to get exact color. It's important that somebody from China will look at a flyer and say, that is Toastmasters. Actually, I don't know which club that is. I don't know which district, which country, but that is Toastmasters. From your colors, from your branding. And this will stretch to the gradients as well. Now, I've seen cases where we use a gradient and we mix blue and red, that is permissible. It works in a way. When we mix this and this, it might bring something entirely different. But when we mix this and white, it works. So find a way in which it works for you. But if you mix some things, it won't work. And that's exactly why we actually have the gradients that we are supposed to use noted in these 2 pages. And what you can do is pick the codes once again right here and load it into your application of choice. Cool gray as well. And I find we don't use this enough. It's a really good color. While on the topic of cool gray, I want to point out, as you design, look at my background. I get lost in it a little bit because of my skin tone and the background all having the same tonality. Look at Dr. Kevin's background, right? We are similar complexions, of similar complexions. He has a white background, which gives him perfect contrast. So as you design flyers, you might want to change the background of an African face to have a white background and a white face to have a darker background, because those contrasts play well with each other. Going forward, we have a bit more of transparencies if you would like to use those. Pathways logo, if you would like to use the same rules as the Toastmasters logo and lookup apply here. Badges, you can click here to be able to access them. If you are creating triple crown and level completions flyers, please, by all means. I haven't seen enough of those this year. Very important to note, the fonts. Toastmasters has about 5 fonts. Yes, we have a few other options down here. So we have a couple of fonts that we use. Please, please, please adhere to the fonts. There's a reason why, because that in itself is communicating to your brain. This is playful, this is serious, this is dangerous, this is engaging, this is fun. So before a brand manual is put together, the research team sits and says, how should we best represent our brand? So kindly, I urge you all to adhere to the brand guidelines. So we have Gotham, allowed to use Gotham in the condensed format. I've seen Kampala, Toastmasters, and a few other clubs use that. Montserrat is a really good option, personal favorite of mine. I don't go a day without using Montserrat. I don't know what happened to me and Montserrat. Then we have Myriad Pro. Source Sans Pro is an alternative. We have Corinthia and Luxurious Script and a few other options here. So please do that. And then we go to photography. Now in summation, as I close it up on my part, images need to reflect the environment we are in. People have to look engaged, empowered, supported, and portrayed in meetings, presentations, pitches, networking venues, conferences, training venues, and speech contests. They need to look like they're enjoying what they're doing, because I'm yet to find a sad public speaker. Sullen and all that, it doesn't work. So we need that. A few things you have to stay away from, like mainly solely portraying landscapes. That means you can have a bit of it, but not mainly. Animals, children, food appliances, medicine. It says don't mainly portray this or solely. So you can use them in context. And the use of cartoons, illustrations, digital art, and more should only be used as secondary elements. Now, this is an amended thing here, only as elements, and then always make sure you have permission to use or reproduce the images. So a lot more on this document about logo placement and all this on photos, but my real question to us is going to be, and it's really on this page. When was the last time in your meeting you announced a disclaimer and said, by virtue of being in this meeting, Toastmasters is permitted to use your images or the photographs that we get here? If you feel that you are not comfortable with that, kindly reach out to the person in charge in that room, and we will make sure that we do not use your images. When was the last time you did that? That's something for us to think about. But through and through, compliance must be adhered to until this brand manual changes, which will be announced. This brand manual is our guiding document. So compliance, compliance, compliance. Thank you so much, and back to you, Tracy.
Round of applause, everyone. Thank you very much, Baron, for that very interesting and succinct presentation. Compliance, 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 ladies and gentlemen. I have always had the question about the, how do you say, the animations and the illustrations. I hear that the brand manual has been updated to accommodate this. Is there a way for us to use certain animations that are compliant? And is there a scope, let me say, that we should pay attention to?
Yes, yes, absolutely, Tracy. If you can see my screen, now I'll have to move away a bit from here, but if you can see my screen somewhere at the bottom here, I should have shared it differently, but somewhere at the bottom on this side, use of cartoons, illustrations, and digital art or clip art in materials created for clubs, areas, divisions, districts, and regions should only be used as secondary design elements used to express club meeting themes or add seasonal flair to promotional flyers. So previously, this was prohibited, but now we have a case where you can use them as secondary. For example, your meeting is about lift off or taking off, and then you have an animated rocket doing that. So that is permitted. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. Do you have any more questions from the floor? Yes, Selim, over to you.
Thank you very much, Baron. One is to ask or maybe seek some clarification of, is the TMOD poster secondary? If that is the case, should an image I'm dropping on the chat be used? That's an image of me, sorry, which I'll delete shortly.
The TMOD secondary, could you clarify on that?
Is it a secondary content or aspect within a poster? Because I'm planning on using myself, an image of myself as a clip art or an illustration rather. So will it fall under the same category or it won't? Have you seen my image on the chat?
Yes, I've seen it. And
Can I
from
use
what
that
I
as a
see,
yes?
from what I see, it says the use of these, including that digital art, should only be used as secondary elements. For example, you have a meeting and it's like an animated meeting. You can have all those animations and it comes into play. If you want to animate the TMOD, for example, you can do that, right? And their photo comes animated and TMOD is so and so, and the theme could play into it as well. Now, in a case where you're not the TMOD, and then you use your photo, and then would you put your name or the TMOD's name? It might come off as false advertising because somebody can come to the meeting expecting you the TMOD. But another point to note, and this is key, the TMOD does not always have to be the person on the flyer, right? Sometimes it can be all the role takers. Sometimes it can be something related to the theme. We make that mistake and say, why is the flyer not coming? The TMOD has not yet sent the photo. You do not need the TMOD on the flyer. It can just be the meeting theme, and we have a meeting and something connected to the meeting. I once used, I don't know if I can share the chat. I don't have it close by. But I once generated two people looking at the audience, a lady and a gentleman, and put them on a flyer. And they looked engaging using AI, and they even had a Toastmasters pin. And everybody who is associated with the club just kept asking me, who are those special guests? But just because they looked engaging and they're in a public speaking environment, and it does not always have to be the TMOD. That's really how it would work. teachers. That answers the question.
Yes, I believe that answers the question. Kindly feel free to put in more questions in the chat box. We are within time. Unless there's one burning one that you really feel like it cannot wait. Yes, Davies, over to you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So, Baron, I have a question. When you look at the images that have been supplied or provided by Toastmasters, which we are allowed to use, you'll notice that majority of them are sort of from the white area. Mostly it's white people, yeah? But if we want to use images, we sort of have to look convincing that this is a meeting that is occurring here in Kenya, which is Africa. And don't you think it should have sort of images of people who sort of have our facial tone or something like that? And are there images that portray that?
Thank you. I see Julian's hand is up as well. Thank you, Davis. I'll respond to that in just a short bit. Thank you for the question. Julian, perhaps you could ask as well, then we'll respond to it in one go.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mine is, I need a clarification. I didn't get the part you said about the animation. There was a time I created a poster, and instead of putting someone's photo, I added a cartoon-like animation, and I was contacted by one of our officials, the District 114 officials, and she told me that in Toastmasters, we don't use the cartoons, the animation thing. So I needed a clarification about that.
Okay, we could start from there, Julian. Was
Yes.
that this year or previously?
This year.
Then Tracy and I are probably guilty of
In
reaching
your,
out.
in your regime. In your regime.
Tracy and I are probably guilty of the crime of reaching out to you, and rightfully so.
Okay.
So it depends. Like we said, the key word in this statement is secondary, right? So the use of cartoons, illustrations, digital art or clip art in materials created for club areas, divisions, etc. should only be used as secondary design elements.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the key word. If you find it supports the context, then it's okay. But if it's the main thing, it is not acting as secondary. Now, another thing to point out to that is, and this would definitely go to the entire district, you'll find that it's not only the PRM and the team who care about compliance. Toastmasters are passionate, especially VPPRs. So let one Toastmaster do one thing, and you'll see how the inbox will rain with, hey, this, is that compliant? And oftentimes they're not necessarily calling it out for bad reasons, but they want to know, is that permissible? Can I also do that? Right? So you'll find that almost nothing misses our eyes, because when it misses, somebody else will say, hey, how come you didn't comment on this? So it's just to point out that the few keywords there are very important. Then back to what Davis had said, when you look at the photos that we have on that brand manual, at the bottom of images, we have branded images available here. And some of them do have people of the African complexion. Some do not. I will admit the majority is not, but that is something that I am very sure Toastmasters International is working around to make sure everybody is represented. So in upcoming editions, we'll be able to have better representation. Nonetheless, caution, when you go online, you might download a few people's faces and we will get in trouble for using those. So you can use faces of members from within the district. We are permitted to do that. If you have some there or from one of the events, you can also generate using AI. Some people feel that's contentious, but if you can download something that looks really good, you can definitely use an AI image. And I'll just share in the chat as we go forward what the image that we used looked like. So that would answer it. But going forward, we'll definitely have solutions to that, better solutions. Thank you for the questions, and back to you, Tracy.
Thank you so much for active participation, everyone. As we observe time, our next trainer, speaker, friend, and mentor is Dr. Kevin Rubia, DTM. He joined Toastmasters in 2020. Since then, he has taken the roles of Sergeant at Arms, VPPR, VPM, Area Director, Division Director, and Toastmasters Leadership Institute Chair. He is a trained doctor, and currently he's pursuing his master's in clinical psychology. In 2023 rather, 2023 rather, he received an Outstanding Toastmasters Award in 2025. He earned his Distinguished Toastmaster Award, DTM. I wish you could see the photos. I will share them in the chat. He is a mentor at Downtown Toastmasters as he serves as the VPE at Watabarugu Advanced Toastmasters Club. Kindly help me give him a warm welcome. Roar up with thunder, use your emojis as we welcome our next trainer, Dr. Kevin Rubia, DTM. Over to you.
Much obliged, Tracy, our facilitator. And thank you, Julian, for your hand claps. I see them. Same to Davis. Thank you so much. And Selim, good. I would have asked you how come you're not clapping for me. Now, I see the celebrations, Baron, on your background. Thank you very much. Why was I really adamant to see you celebrate me as I come to the stage? You're going to learn about it shortly, but the whole essence of being a VPPR is just not a poster. You are there as a strategic growth partner for the members in your club. In one sentence, friends, please tell me by unmuting, what is the role of a VPPR?
Hello.
Hi, Julian.
In my understanding, the role of VPPR is to market the club.
Thank you. To market the club. Fantastic. Anyone else would like to add to what Julian has said?
Yes, me, Dr. Kevin.
Yes.
Apart from promoting the club and publicity, which is a very main key one, it's about I'm trying to they're in charge of social media and digital presence, like managing the club social media profiles across social media platforms, the website, if they have one. Yes.
Fantastic. I agree with all of you. In fact, if you want to add, feel free to put it in the chat. Thank you, Salim, and thank you, Julian. I see in the chat you have creating and managing relations with the club publics. You're lucky you typed publics that way. I've ever typed publics without the L. So you can imagine how that went. To summarize what we've said, the role of our VPPR is to publicize the club's activities externally, but also internally. That's something we sometimes forget. It's not just about letting other people know about your club. It's also about your members. Do they know what exactly is happening within your club? And since we do not exist alone in the area, where many clubs form an area, in the division, where many clubs form an area and many areas form a division, and in the districts, where from a club we move to an area, from an area we move to a division, and from a division we form District 114. That's important. Whether we use a website, whether we use social media, we need to publicize this internally and externally. That is, you are the Chief Communications Officer of your club. And this extends to if you are an area public relations manager, you're the CCO of that area. Same thing for the division and same thing for a district, such as our PRM, Baron Ochola. Now, tell me with a simple yes or no in the chat, is your role just to create flyers? That's number one. I see no's mostly in the chat. Great. My other question is, so far, have you done anything else? Have you created anything else other than flyers in your role? Yes, we know it's not just about flyers, but as a VPPR, have you been doing something else? Yes, you have, Julian. Could you unmute and let us know? Followed by Selim. What else you've done apart from the flyers?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'll introduce myself first. I'm Julian Joki, Vice President, Public Relations, Juja Toastmasters Club. I've went a milestone of creating our first newsletter in Juja Club. Thank you.
Most welcome, and we are here to celebrate you. Well done on that important milestone. Salim, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kev. One is that I've created a newsletter as well for our club. Two, something in progress is releasing LinkedIn newsletters that is occasionally. It could be on specific achievements by members or something intriguing that necessitates people to join Toastmasters.
Let's follow in celebrating Kelvin Salim for the newsletter, not only as a PDF, but also in LinkedIn. Well done, well done. Feel free to continue to put your successes so far as a VPPR or as a member of the Public Relations Committee. What else have you done so far? You can put that in the chat as we continue. What you're going to do now is talk about beyond the flyer. You've heard about newsletters, for example. What else is there beyond that role of creating the club meeting flyer or poster? One of the most important things that we may forget as Vice President of Public Relations is that we are the custodians of how people reach us through the Toastmasters International Find a Club website. We are the ones who make sure that the contact information is correct, such that if they reach out to the Vice President of membership, they have reached out to the right person with the right email and the right number. We'll go into details shortly. Secondly is websites. Selim had mentioned that, and many of our clubs, as I did a research this weekend and today, do not have websites. We shall see what opportunities we have in creating websites and why they're important. Selim and Julian had talked about newsletters where they successfully issued their first newsletter in their respective clubs, and magazines. There are division directors who have also seen issue or publish rather magazines in their districts. You can as well do that in your club, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Did you know that there are specific pathways projects that benefit you as a vice president of public relations? You do not even have to be a VPPR to benefit in these projects. You shall wait and see. Finally is innovation. What new things can you bring to the role? I'm pleased to find out that now we can use illustrations or animations secondarily, because before I felt limited as a vice president of public relations during my old days when I was still a VPPR. But now you who are currently in the seat can find interesting ways of making your flyers, newsletters, websites better. We'll see how. Let's start with the find a club details. Sarah, welcome. Good to have you here. Together with Sarah, let us all do this exercise. Type find a club followed by a Toastmasters club. Let's do that in the next 30 seconds using your device. Search find a club. If you're SEMA, find a club SEMA Toastmasters. If you're Juja, find a club Juja Toastmasters. Davis, I think you're from Kericho Gold. Feel free to do the same. Sarah, which club are you from? You can let us know in the chat as you go into the next step. Is that information you have seen accurate? Meaning the meeting times and the meeting venue is accurate. If let's say you have an online meeting and then a physical meeting, it's clearly stated which day is online, which one is physical. The contact information, should you try to contact that person, that is a current club officer, if you decide to WhatsApp them, for example. The website, if any, is correct and up to date, meaning if you click on that website, the information that pops up is not of 5 years, 10 years, or even 2 years ago. It's your responsibility, friends, to keep those details correct. In as much as you might not be the person who is going to be reached out to through that number, you as the Vice President of Public Relations have the responsibility, according to the Club Leadership Handbook, to go to Club Central. You log into toastmasters.org, go to My Home, then Club Central, then Club Contact and Meeting Information. That is how you keep that information current in case it isn't. And should it be correct, make sure that as you hand over to your successor, to let them know that that's their responsibility to make sure that all that information is accurate. Should your club, for example, decide on changing its name, the right name is reflected. Should the contact information, let's say you create a website, change, you should put it there as the VPPR. Let's look at an example of Smart Speak Toastmasters Club. This is a screenshot from the Find a Club information of SmartSpeak. There's a reason as to why I've chosen them as an example, you'll see shortly. The first thing is the website or social media page. SmartSpeak itself has a website, and I took a screenshot to show what they have on their first page, on their landing page. And in case you do not have a website for now, feel free to put a social media page on that place written website. When you go to contact club information, when you go to contact club meeting information rather, make sure you can use LinkedIn, for example. I've seen many clubs do that. Feel free to do that in case you do not have a website. It's an additional way that prospective guests can reach out to you. If you have social media pages and you do not have a website, I would encourage you put a social media page. It's an additional layer that they can reach out to you for communication. There is an option for every club to put their Facebook page. Please do not neglect that option simply because you may not know. Someone may be more comfortable, for example, reaching out to you on social media. Therefore, it would be imperative that your Facebook is active, your Facebook page is active, and it is available for that prospective member or guest. The meeting days, the time the meeting starts, and the times the meeting ends, together with the time zone. Many of our clubs may not have the end times, not the end times in terms of the apocalypse, but the end time of your meeting. We don't know when the world will end. If you don't know, please let us know in the chat. But you have to have your meeting days, when the meeting starts and when they end. If it's 6:30 is until what time? For planning purposes. And the time zone, especially if you allow online attendance, just like the club depicted. It helps a lot for someone like Dean Robertson, DTM, who's joining us from Texas. Phone number with the country code. It's important. Yes, we may be within East Africa, but we are from different countries. Without putting the country code, it may be difficult for someone to know which country it is. Lastly is the location, and you make sure that you differentiate the online and physical with the specific days. For example, Downtown Toastmasters Club, which I am a member of, meets on the second and fourth Thursdays, but the second is online and fourth is physical. I think the same thing with Bugolobi Toastmasters Club, that you may have a physical meeting and an online meeting, or vice versa. Make sure that information is clear. For a club like SmartSpeak that offers hybrid, perhaps it would be nice to put hybrid as a word in your location description. That way, it helps the person know, if you haven't clearly demarcated, that this meeting is differentiated, rather, that this meeting is online and this one is physical. All this is available in Club Central. And as the Vice President of Public Relations, you're in charge of making that information current. Make sure your successor knows that. Great. Let's now go to websites. Does your club have a website? Please let me know yes or no in the chat. As I read what has come so far, Julian, I see you've also added LinkedIn and TikTok. Well done. At least the world was supposed to end in 1999, but we are here, growing strong. Julian, you've mentioned not yet. Yes, we have our website, but not active Okay. No, because you cannot log in. Sorry about that, Selim. Let's find out how we can create websites. For those of us who can separate that on Toastmasters International, yes. I'll show you shortly how you as a Toastmaster can still have a free website separate from that of Toastmasters International, and that using the free Toast host platform. If you Google search free Toast host, you'll find that it's a platform that allows clubs and districts, in case we have district PRMs who need websites for their district. Free Toast hosts helps you do that for free. That's why it's free. It's called free. It hosts your website for free. You just need to have information about your club, for example, the club number. Yes, as an example, we won't get into details on that, but that's a possibility. Selection that he's not able to log in. Unfortunately, there are some clubs that used that free Toast host, but did not give the login credentials to their subsequent successors, to those who followed them. So as a result, your club may have that website. For example, I know Alibad has, I have seen Jupiter having it, and some other clubs. As the former VPPR of Watabaruku, we set one up. In case your club had set it up earlier and you do not have the logins, I don't think it's easy to, you may have to look for a different platform. I don't think you can, unless you try writing to them and see if you can get back login rights so that you can update that information. I also understand there are other free hosting websites. In case you know of any of these, please, you can post them in the chat. That could also help the likes of Selim, who may not be able to access their free Toast host for now. This is from SmartSpeak web page, free Toast host, and gives us the history of SmartSpeak on its first page. Notice how everyone is happy. It almost looks like AI, but it's not, imagine, because SmartSpeak is very old. In terms of a club, they're having their 500th meeting next month in March of 2026, in case you're watching this online. This was very vibrant. I liked it. And now the challenge is not just to have a website, but to keep it current. Otherwise, it doesn't really help. You may choose to have your own website, create your own website, different from free Toast host, from the free Toast host platform, like business dialogues. And then you link it on that find a club information, or rather, when you go to Club Central, you can update the club meeting information and put the website details there by linking it there. Business dialogues is an example, and look at how they've also made sure they use the brand guidelines, meaning the fonts and the colors. As I mentioned, it's important to keep it current. Like SEMA recently celebrated their 17th club anniversary. Unlike the next club, which no longer meets on Saturdays, they meet on Wednesdays. I've just blurred their names just in case. We have haters. Contests are coming up. But anyway, let's make sure that we have the logins Meaning, if you're going to create a website for your members, for your club, make sure that those logins are handed over to the next VPPR so that they can always keep the information up to date. Let's go to newsletters. Why are newsletters important? I'd like just one response from the first person who unmutes. Why would a club need a newsletter? Why bother? Welcome, Michael. Michael, good to see you.
I feel like Julian and Kelvin would have this answer, but they might be having trouble reaching the unmute button.
No worries. And they indeed have even talked about it. Just to save on time, I will go straight to why I think newsletters could be important. Feel free to put your comment in the chat in case I've missed anything. One could be celebrating milestones like SEMA turning 17 or SmartSpeak having their 500th meeting. Utilizing talents. Michael, who's just entered the meeting room or joined the meeting room, that was direct translation from my mother tongue, joined the meeting room. He has created a newsletter for his club, which I'll show you in subsequent slides, showing his talents in being able to curate and display information, current information about the club and beyond within his club by using a newsletter. It helps publicize the club. Should you have visiting Toastmasters or guests who want to know about the club, such as the history or what Toastmasters is about, you can actually have a newsletter on that. Newsletters gives news, meaning your first edition could be just an introduction about the club, for example, and that can always be used to introduce your club to other people. Inform, such as making announcements on upcoming events like division, district, area contests, and it serves as a repository. Imagine if your club is celebrating its 10th anniversary and there's a newsletter for that, or for every anniversary, you have a newsletter. It helps even track the progress you've made each year. For example, at one point, we were not online and now we have hybrid meetings. It really keeps that tradition, or you have that institutional memory as a result of having a newsletter. How then can we make sure, or what can we use to make newsletters? Toastmasters International has templates or newsletters. It may not be your most, let's say, Gen Z attractive newsletters that we see out there. However, it is still a good place to start. It's in Word and you can customize it. Remember, newsletters is just about news. Therefore, starting small is better than waiting when you know how to use Canva, which is the second example I've given, which may be more detailed or it may not be as simple as Toastmasters has given, but has more features. We also have social media through LinkedIn newsletters, for example, where you can publish, let's say, members of your committee, if you're a vice president public relations, can publish articles, or even members of your club. They just submit to you and you publish them on LinkedIn as a newsletter. That's a nice way to utilize, by the way, distinguished Toastmasters or to people who've been there for a long time and may feel underutilized. Feel free to also have guest writers, be it leadership gurus or people of interest that may capture a crowd writing on your social media. Finally, email newsletters using applications like MailChimp can also go a long way in reaching out to your own members, past members, and prospective ones. And this is what I had alluded to earlier. Michael, who's happily in the meeting, I'm happy to see him, came up with this newsletter. And why I highlighted his newsletter is that he has been consistent so far. Because sometimes it's easy to start something and not follow up with it. He started one in July to September for Blue Nile Toastmasters, that first quarter, followed it up with the second issue. Notice the same theme, Pursuit of Excellence. And then the second one is Excellence on One Becoming. I'm eagerly waiting for the next, I was about to say episode, the next edition of the lead newsletters or magazines rather of Blue Nile Toastmasters Club. Well done, Michael. You can post the editions, the first two editions, links to the editions rather in the chat so that we may follow and learn from you. The fourth thing is Pathways projects. Did you know by simply being at the VPPR, you can use your actual work, for example, building social media presence as a project? Utilize this, creating a podcast. I think it was the Thika Toastmasters Club that was working on a podcast at one point. Building a social media presence can be good, not just for your club, but even for your own social media presence as a professional. You can as well have blogs, especially on websites or on free to host websites that allows you to create blogs. Therefore, there are more opportunities for you as a VPPR by virtue of being that club officer in progressing in your pathways. Because of this, these are level 4 elective projects that are available to you. You can also use a project as your Distinguished Toastmaster project. That means we can, I know of a Toastmaster who's actually has created a podcast and would like to use that experience of creating podcasts to help other people create their own podcasts as his DTM project. The opportunities are endless when it comes to publicity. The last thing we're going to talk about is innovation. And Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Incorporated, said innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. It's always good and refreshing to come up with new ways of doing things, such as Lerai Toastmasters Club, I found out, created a schedule because sometimes it's crazy for their own members and for prospective members to know that they meet on the first Thursday, for example, and the third Saturday. Doing that math sometimes can be cumbersome, and therefore having a schedule such as this can help. Then sharing this in their WhatsApp groups or website. Downtown Toastmasters Club coalesced all its links into one, meaning if you want to follow them, you can just follow at Downtown Nairobi. And using Linktree, they have a Linktree link such that if you click it, you get their LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all that into one. Another, Speaking Woman has been using AI to generate its posters, and they've been capturing the information very well, very beautifully. It's attractive. Unfortunately, I'm a woman. I'm not a woman, sorry. I beg your pardon. I'm hungry, and therefore I cannot attend their meetings. But yeah, it looks good. They still maintain the brand guidelines. Tamarind Mombasa had this theme of language of connection and put all that in a heart shape. I found that creative. As long as we make sure, yes, playing the Hunger Games is dangerous. You can see, and this thing is being recorded, imagine, then that clip can be removed and then used against me one day. Brand manual, make sure that you use the brand guidelines in all this as highlighted by our PRM. We are not saying go rogue and therefore start using other colors that do not even exist. Make sure you still maintain the brand guidelines. In closing, as my time is up, you also do not operate alone, meaning at the end of the day, you still work with all these people, the president, when it comes to recognitions. And that's why I was making sure that we clapped. The VPPR is the chief clapping officer, not just the chief communications officer, meaning we recognize anything and everything that can be recognized within and outside Toastmasters. Someone got a baby, someone got a promotion. The president can help you in that. For the vice president of education, more often than not, is to do with meeting flyers, the Toastmasters of the day, such like things. That's how we liaise with them. The VPM, when it comes to onboarding members, let's say you've used social media to publicize your next club meeting, someone reaches out to you, they're interested in joining, you hand over their number of contacts to the VPM. Secretary, reports and records. For example, you've created your newsletter. You should give them to the secretary for safekeeping so that they have that repository. Treasurer, renewals are coming, membership building flyers. Sergeant at arms, making sure that the venue details are up to scratch, for example. Therefore, it's not just you doing your job as a VPPR, but building into the success of the club, because all this makes sure that the environment that is safe for people to develop their public speaking and leadership skills is created, and therefore reaching the mission of the club. You are more than a flyer maker. In case you feel that your job has been reduced to making flyers, feel encouraged that there's so much more that you can do and actually earn from it. When I was an area director, I made a newsletter for my area. That time it was area 16 and we called it Suite 16, where one of the E stood for excellent, etc. And someone who saw me do that now lets me create her organization's flyers at a fee. So at the end of the day, all these skills that you learn as a VPPR can also be used for your own financial gain, not just to publicize your club. Thank you so much, friends, for being an active audience. And I'd like to hand over to Tracy, our facilitator, for the next steps.
Tracy, you are muted.
I was saying technology is doing that thing. Thank you so much, our facilitator. As a fellow woman, I just wanted to display your mural as an appreciation for you leading this session with us. Kindly let us demonstrate and showcase our appreciation using the emojis, claps, unmute. Kindly just ululate our fellow ladies in the house. I'd like to open the floor now. Yes, indeed. I'd like to open the floor for questions at this time. And thank you so much for all of you who have gone beyond just making flyers and exploring the opportunity that is your talent in this role. Do you have any questions? From the chat, how does the PR ensure the entire exco is supported? Dr. Kevin? Is supported in their work.
I ah I'm not sure if I thought my last slide answered this in the sense that you chip in, for example, the president, being the CEO of the club, is in charge of recognitions. Therefore, how you support the president is by ensuring that every recognition, for example, level completions, distinguished Toastmaster awards, triple crowns, new member joining, is publicized. It could be through a flyer, it could be a social media post, it could be a newsletter article. It's seeing how you as the VPPR now chip in into their role and how they too can help you. In that case, the president would, the onus is on them to let you know of the recognitions that this month, for example, we had 2 people delivering their icebreakers. That could even come from the Vice President of Education. From the VPM, it could be a new member has joined. From the president, maybe it could be someone has progressed to the next level in contests. That's how you chip in, unless there's something specific that you're waiting to hear, which I'd love you to share, friends. How else can you support your exco in their work as the PR? One thing that also comes to mind is a calendar, meaning it's good to also have a way in which you publicize information. Like if it's a renewal period or we are having a renewal campaign, how often would the treasurer want these posters out? Such like things are important so that not everyone is coming with all their demands at the same time. It also helps having a committee member who can take up some of these roles.
Yes, me. All right, from the chat once again. Does posting inspiring messages on public speaking to the public qualify? I believe qualify as the VPPR keeping their socials alive.
Indeed, it does. Not just inspirational messages, tips on public speaking, and sometimes you don't even need to curate them yourselves. The beauty is we belong to a whole ecosystem. Therefore, following the District 114 on social media, and Toastmasters International already gives you content that you can always repost or reshare. Our current international president has been, Aleta Rochard DTM, has been sharing a lot of wisdom and knowledge and insights. Those are key things that you can be posting. You not only let the public know about it, but you also let your own members, who, by the way, you must try to follow up if they actually follow you. They get to know, for example, that our international president is so and so, that Ralph Smedley's birthday was on 20, was it yesterday or 2 days? Yes. Such like things that is not only other people outside your club are benefiting the public, but also your own members. That's why internal communication is one thing you should always remember. Yes, to answer your question, yes, it's very important. It beats the, what can I say, the mundaneness, if that's a word, of it's just meeting posters, inspirational messages, Monday motivations, Tuesday tips, Wednesday I don't know what. Feel free to be as creative as possible. Otherwise, it could get boring.
Thank you so much, Kevin, Dr. DTM, for also making the time and sharing with us all these wonderful nuggets of wisdom. Thank you, everyone, for supporting with the emojis, and feel free to ask more questions and follow the District 114 socials. We do post these updates. We are pressed on time. I will request for your indulgence kindly for a few announcements. As we know, the membership renewal period is upon us. The period will end on the 31st of next month. Kindly, as VPPRs, we can help push this message. You can visit our Instagram page, Instagram, LinkedIn, or X pages to find this information. The posters 2020 are going around. Do feel free to share and reshare alongside your own posters. In addition to that, there is a Leadership Insight Summit by our very own district director, Demalesh Dumagan, that one. The Hunger Games continue. This will be happening. Let's see, I was hoping the flyer is going to be shared. It's going to be happening in 2 days. That is on Thursday, the 26th. There will be a live broadcast on YouTube. Kindly watch out for that. Once again, all this information is broadcasted on our social media pages, District 114, as well as this medley sprint, where you and your club exco can stand a chance to win pins for each and every one of you. All the details are available there as well. My name is Tracy Mamoy. I have been your facilitator. I'd like to hand it over to our district PRM, Baron Ochola, for any closing remarks. Over to you, Baron.
Thank you, dearly Tracy. Thank you so much. I have enjoyed today's session. I'm happy that I got to spend the evening here with you. And I greatly appreciate every single one of the members, the Toastmasters who were able to join in here. We had Sarah, Michael, Kelvin, Julian, Davis, Chrysanthus, and the one and only Dr. Kevin Rubia. And we're also joined by Toastmaster Dean, DTM. He's the Public Relations Manager of District 56, which covers Texas. So the network is big, and indeed what we are learning is very impactful. Now, one message I would like to pass on to the entire district, and that is the public relations managers, the PR team itself, is we've had raving reviews of our work. Recently, when the PQD and the CGD had traveled to Malaysia, I believe it was Malaysia or Singapore, I'm yet to verify, but there was a training for the trio there. And we got a lot of comments from Toastmasters, from trio members all across the world, from different districts, about the incredible work that District 114 is doing on social media. And that's the district and the clubs as well. So it goes without saying that we are doing the right thing. We just have to remind ourselves what Dr. Kevin shared with us today, we have to go beyond the flyer. Let us relate with our publics. Let's make sure that we're supporting the executive committee, we are supporting members, we're supporting guests through the journey that they have to go through to experience Toastmasters and be satisfied with Toastmasters. With that being said, I appreciate you all. Tracy has already shared all the updates. Looking forward to seeing you on the last Monday of next month once again as we anchor towards handing over and what comes next in our Toastmasters year. Thank you so much, and today's session is adjourned.